Okay, looks like we're all showing up here. So let's call this meeting to order. This is the Sacramento Environmental Commission for its July monthly meeting. Jill, could you call the roll, please?
Mark White. Absent. Richard Hunn.
Here.
Tom Molson.
Here.
Laura Nickerson.
Here.
Eric Rivero Montez.
Here.
Stephanie Holstitch.
Here.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi.
Here.
Sheila Raby.
Here.
We have a quorum.
Great, thank you. Normally what we'd like to do is do a quick introduction of the commissioners so that people from outside the commission know who you're speaking to and our backgrounds. So what I'd like to do is maybe call on Tom. Maybe you could start us off and do a quick introduction.
Sure. My name's Tom Molson. I'm representing the cities of Folsom, Ileton, and Galt, and I'm a retired Aerojet engineer.
Kayla, how about you?
Hi, I'm Kayla Raby. I'm still continuing my education and hopefully into a career in environmental science and studies.
Great. Tony, you're next.
Yes, hi, I'm Tony DeRigi, retired pediatrician. I was involved with the Kaiser Permanente Stewardship, Environmental Stewardship Program.
Stephanie.
Hi, I'm Stephanie Holstitch. I'm a senior environmental scientist with the state of California, currently working for the State Water Board.
And Laura.
Yes, hi, my name is Laura Nickerson, and I was appointed by the Sacramento County, and I'm a recently retired registered nurse, and also I do wildlife rescue and rehabilitation.
And Eric.
Yes, Eric Rivero Montez. I'm the representative for the city of Elk Grove, currently working for SMUD, Sacramento Municipal Utility District, in their environmental services team, focusing on climate change and greenhouse gas related issues.
And I'm Richard Hunn, Vice Chair of the Commission. I'm sitting in for Mark White, who's absent. And I was appointed by Sacramento County, and I'm a retired environmental consultant specializing in resource management. With us also, we have Janaea Monastero. Maybe a quick introduction, Janaea.
Hi, good afternoon or evening. Janaea Monastero, and I am Director for the Environmental Management Department.
Good. So what I'd like to do is we have a couple of speakers tonight, focusing primarily on the Lower American River Parkway, its management and its management concerns. So with us tonight, Liz Bellis, you're here. Are you going to be making the presentation, or are you going to arrange this?
Yes, I do have a presentation. So if I'm able to share my screen, I will pull that up if that's the best time. All right. Can you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Fantastic. Let me minimize your beautiful faces so that I can see my PowerPoint. But I won't be able to see if you raise your hand. So someone please let me know if anyone does. Thank you so much for inviting me tonight. I'm very happy to make this presentation to the Sacramento Environmental Commission. Jill had shared with me a few different things that you guys would like to talk about. So these are what we will be reviewing: the value of parks and recreation services, our natural resources management plan for the American River Parkway and the process, encampment impacts, biofuel reduction, major events, golf course / turf benefits, and then open for questions. So I don't know if you guys are aware, but July is Parks and Recreation Month. That's something that's been celebrated across the country since the late 80s. And Parks and Recreation services, of course, have a high value of protection of our open space and natural resources, increased physical and mental health, improved quality of life, increased property values. You're probably very much focused on the conservation and resiliency piece, where we are able to protect our land, the water, the trees, open spaces, and wildlife, improve our air and water quality for our Sacramento residents. So I know that our natural resources management plan, and I'm not sure how many of you are familiar with this, but we've been working on a natural resources management plan for the American River Parkway for a few years now. And we really started our efforts in earnest in 2018 with a lot of data collection. We started mapping some of our resources. We identified our potential management actions that we want to include in our plan in 2018. We started a lot of public outreach in 2020 through 2021. We released our public draft of the plan in March of 2021 and held that open for about 60 days for public comment. We also put together a special task force that includes folks from the Army Corps of Engineers, Water Forum, and other regulatory agencies to provide some very specialized technical input. So coming up here very shortly, we will have the release of the final plan and the supplemental EIR. That'll be open for 45 days for public comment. We'll incorporate all those comments and finalize it and bring it to the Board of Supervisors for approval, fingers crossed, by the end of this calendar year. And if you're interested in looking at the materials, they can be found on our website. And I put the address down there in the corner. So I know a lot of folks have been talking about this. You've seen a lot of stuff in the media about this, but encampment impacts on our parks. So unauthorized encampments, they're a huge source of trash, debris, hypodermic needles, human waste. And in 2021, we removed over 1,300 tons of trash from our regional park system. And also, probably most forefront on people's minds at this point in time are the number of fires that occur in our park system. Between 2017 and 2021, the number of fires has doubled. In 2017, we had about 80 fires. In 2021, we had 170. And 99% of these fires are human caused. We're not in an area where you're gonna have like a lightning strike kind of fire. It's basically people doing bad things. These maps right here are from Sacramento City Fire, and they show the homeless fire incident locations for 2020 and 2021. These are what they call heat maps to kind of show where the greatest concentration of fires are. And as you can see, there is a huge concentration of fires in the lower stretch of the American River Parkway. Our department does a lot of work with fire fuel reduction. This includes fire break maintenance, grazing, ladder fuel removal, and also on occasion, controlled burns. Every year we put together annual plans. We post them on our website, as well as share these plans with our advisory groups and the Recreation and Park Commission. And again, I put the address down in the lower corner if you'd like to check out that and get additional information. The Parkway and our regional parks are host to major special events throughout the year. And these include concerts, competitive runs, and festivals. And a kind of cool thing is for the American River Parkway, we bring in almost $532 million in actual economic benefit. And this is taken by taking the number that we have from our financial needs study in 2006 and applying the basic CPI inflation calculator. Golf course and turf benefits. A lot of people ask this kind of question, like, why do you have turf? Why is it important? Especially in these times with drought. So there's a few things that are important. One is urban heat island reduction. So we are all aware that when you have open green spaces, it actually cools down the areas surrounding, especially when you have areas that are very highly urbanized. You've got a lot of concrete, pavement, rooftops. Our golf courses are actually Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program certified. That is for Mather and Cherry Island, and we're hoping to have that certification formalized for Ansel Hoffman soon. And then just in general, parks are, one of the reasons that we exist is to provide green spaces for the general public, benefiting both physical and mental health, especially in this time where a lot of folks are pulling out lawns and kind of changing those over to non-turf type areas, we still have that very important green space. With that, very quickly, but did anyone have any questions, comments, or items they wanted to talk about?
I had
Thanks,
a
Liz.
question.
Yeah, go ahead.
Thank you for that. I was wondering, I know that golf courses can provide habitat for wildlife as well, but I was wondering what the Audubon Cooperative Sanctuary Program is. I'm not familiar with that.
So it basically goes through the different golf courses, and you have to meet these very stringent requirements on environmental management, so best practices. And then it also looks at the fact that we're part of the Pacific Flyway, so birds actually utilize our golf courses as a place to land and stay for a brief period of time.
Well, thanks.
Are there any other comments or questions from the commission?
Yes, thanks for the presentation. Does county parks follow development issues in the Lower American River Parkway? For example, are you following the development of the Cassis property?
Yes.
Near the, okay. And do you have is there any update on that, or do you know what the current status is?
The latest update that I have is that that property was actually purchased by the developer, Truemark Properties. It's within the city limits for Rancho Cordova. And so what that means is it's the Rancho Cordova cities combining zone that applies, not the counties. And
Wow.
so we have a limited role as far as what we can monitor, or not monitor, but what we can submit for their planning commission as the project moves forward. But we are keeping an eye on it, looking at the environmental documents as they're released. And we've also, had conversations with city staff and said, hey, there's a portion of it that we know people would like to purchase and put into the public trust. It is technically outside of the boundary of the American River Parkway, but there is a good portion of it that would be a great addition.
Thank you. Okay, and one other question, do you also follow, I think it's an item that's going to be on the agenda in the future, but do you follow the E. coli testing?
Yes.
In the American River, and how that affects beaches?
Oh yeah, no, absolutely. We're actually part of the group that, so we've been studying that with the state for a few years now, have been doing very specific testing, not just testing of where there are sites that have higher levels of E. coli. We've also done actual DNA testing, DNA marker testing to determine where is it coming from. And I don't know if you said it's going to be on a future agenda, so I don't want to spoil it, but there are a couple reports that are out that have talked about what the source points are.
They're birds.
They're birds.
Yeah, but I know it's an interesting topic. Yeah.
Oh,
thank you.
Extremely interesting topic. Yes, but we are a part of that group and we've been following that closely.
Oh, well, now, and regarding encampments, so is there a new ordinance that is coming out soon that the rangers will have a new direction regarding encampments?
Yes, so there will actually be that policy discussion and a proposed ordinance brought forward to the board on August 10th. And I believe I don't think they've published the start time of that meeting. I believe it to be in the afternoon. So please join us for a few hours, I'm sure, of testimony and discussion. And I'm also following that extremely.
Okay. Thank you.
Any other comments or questions? I've got a couple here. Liz, does the resource management plan call for any substantial changes to the parkway from its current condition, or is it just looking for the status quo?
No, we're actually looking at the different areas, and we've mapped out the different areas where we believe that it's the best place to do some restoration activities. It also calls out areas that we need to conserve. So areas where it already has a high value, like maybe there's already been a mitigation or restoration project, we need to try and maintain that. But there are definitely some areas that could use some tender loving care. I'm thinking under the power lines, no offense to this mud guy, but we would love to put in some great plant that are native, but also would be consistent with the power line management. Because none of us like the fact that when we have fires in those areas, we have to shut down those power lines. And that's one of the sources of the nation's power grid. I don't know if you're aware of that, but it's really kind of a big deal when we have to shut those down. And I would like to look at converting those into some pollinator habitat as well, to the best of our ability. I think that would be fantastic.
Okay. There's a ongoing, I guess it's an erosion control project in the campus commons area.
Yes.
And over the past several months, they've removed a lot of large trees. Looks like they're resculpting the shoreline levee banks. And I said this is a part of the Army Corps of Engineers activity, or maybe SAFCA. Did the Department of Parks participate in the planning of this project, and were we able to achieve adequate mitigation for the loss of the vegetation that's been removed?
Yes, and yes. So there have been bank protection working group and task force meetings for several years on all of these projects. And so Parks was a participant in, we did a lot of different modeling on what types of bank protection work they would do. And so we fought hard to do the least amount of damage to our existing natural resources, being mindful of the fact that this flood control work needed to happen to keep the citizens of Sacramento safe. And then the resource agencies have been calling out a requirement to do as much of the restoration mitigation on the American River Parkway as physically possible. And the Natural Resources Management Plan will actually help guide that as well.
Any other questions from the commission, please?
Yeah, I have a question.
Hi, Laura.
Hi, Liz. Thank you for that. I was wondering if you guys had any idea how many homeless encampment people were there currently, and then I was also wondering, what do the park rangers, or whatever they're called, do when they come across these homeless encampments now?
Sure. So there was a point in time count recently released, and it did have a specific subset of data collection for the American River Parkway within the city limits, basically. And that, I think it was somewhere along the lines of just under 600 people that they thought. More realistic number, I think, is somewhere between 600 and 1,000 people. And so what our park rangers do, we actually have been abating encampments this entire time, with the exception of during COVID. There was the public health order, and it was very specific that we were not to move encampments, because the idea is if we're able to keep folks in one place, then they're not moving around, not spreading, potentially spreading the virus. So we actually abated, I think it was 1,600, 1,700 camps in 2021. And so what happens is we look at the camps, we prioritize them when there is damage to our natural resources, degradation to the natural resources, or there's a public health safety hazard. We give what's called a 48-hour notice. And it's basically notice saying you have 48 hours, you need to leave the area. We're going to clean up this encampment. And that's what we've been doing. That's how we were able to remove so much trash and debris off of, in the park system. Now, unfortunately, sorry, go ahead.
I was just going to say, on the follow-up on that is if this new ordinance is passed, how will that help
Change
your management of that?
Sure. So right now what happens is we'll go through and we'll post a camp, we'll abate it, we'll clean it up. And there's nothing preventing the folks from moving to another spot on the parkway or within the park system. So part of what the proposed ordinance states right now and what the board will make their policy decision on is, will we be specifically stating you can't camp here? And you can't camp here for a myriad of reasons, some of which are environmentally related, some of which are related to the public safety themselves for the folks that are camping, the folks that are visiting. And that is the change. Because if that exists, then there wouldn't be picking up your camp, moving 50 yards somewhere and reestablishing.
Yeah, it's whack-a-mole. I'm very familiar with it. Question though, how do you get around the Boise, Idaho federal court ruling?
So the Boise v. Martin case does allow for you to specify certain areas where you can prohibit camping. And that's the policy decision that the board would have to make. And the city of Sacramento did something similar with their critical infrastructure ordinance.
Interesting. I was wondering how they were getting around that, but it's still whack-a-mole because these homeless
It's not like they
people are not going-
disappear.
Yeah,
Right,
they're not going to
right.
disappear.
Yeah.
They're just going to go someplace else.
Yeah, we don't have a magic wand in our possession where we've been able to solve the world's problems. And so that's why, as the board has taken action, I'm sure you're probably following this, but the board has taken action to open up some sanctioned safe stay is what I think they're calling them, sites. And that of course will help, but we know we have a long ways to go.
That's only if they're willing to use those sites too. A lot of them aren't. or
Correct.
won't.
Correct. That is a very important piece of it. You have to actually utilize the services provided to you.
Yeah, and they don't have to accept them, and that's part of the issue. So there is no silver bullet with that problem.
No.
Yeah, a good presentation, Liz. Thank you.
You're very welcome.
Liz, I'm wondering if, is there anything that, I really love the American Parkway. I spend a lot of time there bird watching and riding my bike and whatnot, and the importance of the environmental preservation of it so it's not harmed. Is there something I can do or the commission can do to help with that proposal to move it through the ordinance?
So on an individual basis, you could absolutely go to the hearing, or
When was that again? I'm sorry.
August 10th.
Okay.
And then should your board desire, I don't know how you guys are set up, but I'm assuming you could make a motion and take an action to have an official standing on it, but I don't know how your board works. So I don't want to speak out of turn. I don't know if you guys do that, but individually, absolutely. You could come to the board hearing and either make a comment in person, on the phone, or you can also email comments in as well.
Okay.
Or all three. I'm kidding. Don't do all three.
Thank you.
Liz, in regards to the upcoming resource management plan, when do you expect that to become available for review?
So I was really hoping that it would be available in June, and it wasn't. So we are working on going through all the final comments that we received on our task force. And then kind of what we're trying to do is we're tabulating all the comments and having a response table, much like you do in an environmental document, so that folks can kind of track the progress of the document. So I'm looking towards August that it should be out. I keep pushing. Maybe it'll be sooner than that, but realistically, probably August. And we'll be, shouting from the mountaintops on that one, that it's available for people to read and comment on.
Yeah, I think this is something the commission would be interested in reviewing and providing comments. And thank you for the heads up, because it gives us time to really take a look at it and respond accordingly.
One more quick question, Liz. Regarding funding for the Parkway, do you take advantage? Do you apply for grants from the state Lower American River Conservancy?
Absolutely. Yes, we've received a lot of grants. And so the Conservancy actually helped fund a significant portion, majority portion of our natural resources management plan. They also funded the revamp of picnic structures at Discovery Park. We have a grant with them to do a study. There is a washout in between Cal Expo and Woodlake areas of the parkway on the off-paved trail section. So there's a washout. So they're funding us to figure out the best way to connect those back up, either a bridge or a culvert. I'm thinking a bridge is probably what's going to end up happening, but anyway, still to be decided. And then they've also done a lot of funding for the American River Ranch. I don't know if you're familiar with that site. At Soilborn Farms leases it from the county. It's an organic farm on the American River Parkway. So they funded some improvements. We just did a very nice parking lot area with ADA access for folks to be able to enjoy access to the ranch. They're also funding an animal barn plan. They're going to revamp the animal barn out there, and a kind of a restoration area where they want to do some native plantings of oak trees and elderberry and some other plants, along with the indigenous peoples that live in the area. Excuse me. So really excited about that project. And they have also funded the Water Forum. They're doing the study on how to finish the Cordova Creek naturalization. I don't know if you're familiar with that area, but we took a concrete lined ditch and made it into this beautiful restored creek. So we're going to go to phase 2 so we can complete that project. Trying to think what else. I think they've also funded some projects for the American River Parkway Foundation, but I'm not going to steal Scott's thunder. So.
Thank you.
Okay. Thank you, Liz. A very good presentation and insight. We'll look forward to communicating with you again on the resource management plan and maybe on August 10th also.
Sounds great. Thank you.
So on a similar theme here, we have Scott Murdoch with the American River Parkway Foundation. And Scott is the Director of Communications and Public Affairs. And Scott, you can take it away with your presentation.
Maybe unmute myself, that would help. All right. Thank you. Yes, I appreciate being here. And Liz, good to see you. And we have a very close relationship, working relationship with the Sacramento County Regional Parks, and I appreciate the efforts that they do. I'm just going to go run through a quick introduction of who we are, and maybe just talk a little bit about the Parkway so you understand what context we're putting it on when we kind of discuss. We'll go through it really quick because I know everybody here is already pretty familiar with what the Parkway is. So basically, obviously, Sacramento County Park stretches from Sacramento River all the way up to Hazel. About 8 million visitors annually, and as Liz mentioned, is a large financial driver for the region. So from the foundation perspective, some of the challenges we see that the Parkway is facing, as Liz touched on, a number of illegal campers. Our estimates are a little higher. We actually have volunteers out there tracking and mapping the illegal camps for us, and we actually estimate 2,000 to 3,000 illegal campers along the Parkway, and that's because it's really stretching out across the full 23-mile stretch. Obviously, the North Gate and Woodlake area is probably the most impacted, and that is where the point-in-time count took place, as Liz said. But it's now stretched up. You have major encampments at Howe, you have major encampments at Watt, you have major encampments up in by Ansel Hoffman, and so on. We're even seeing major encampments stretch all the way up to Lake Natoma into the state managed area, which is stretches we haven't seen before. And even some fires up there caused by illegal encampments, which is kind of new to that area. Obviously, touched on the increase in fires last year. More than 15% of the Parkway burned from fire. This year, we're already on a big stretch. More illegal campers means more trash. I know Liz and her team is doing the best, but we think that the open space can be managed a little better than it currently is. And then just low general awareness. We conducted a survey in 2019 about the American River Parkway, and a lot of the community actually didn't understand exactly what the American River Parkway is and how some of the established recreation areas played a role in the parkway itself and connected the full 23 miles. So just pulling out a couple of key stats that we're looking at 2022. So Liz touched on the point in time count. So it's 594 within that 3 to 4 mile stretch. Again, that's just within 3 to 4 miles. Stretch it out 23 miles. The 2,000 to 3,000 is a very easily attainable number. And so far this year, we've already seen more than 160 acres burned on the parkway, and that's not including the state park state managed land. That's just in the 23 mile stretch. So again, we are the Parkway Foundation. We do a lot. These are just some of the programs that we're running right now. But we're going to talk a little bit on this presentation about the Fire Safe Council and what we're doing on the illegal camping front. So obviously with our concerns, we issued a demand letter to the city of Sacramento and county of Sacramento in January. What we really wanted to do was raise the issue of the illegal camping and the destruction is taking onto the parkway and drive the discussions about how we can really find some solutions. So we had a plan in there with a deadline or a demand in there for a plan to address illegal camping on the parkway by the March 31st deadline. So that was a big chunk of it and what we got a lot of coverage on. We also were really fighting to try to help more with the open space. And I know we've had a lot of conversations on that as well with local elected officials and with Liz and her team and some of the other leaders in both the city and the county government. And with that demand letter, we also established our Voice of the Parkway Coalition. So what this is, it's a coalition of concerned parkway users, local businesses, organizations, and corporations. That's part one of the two part of this coalition. So that's really our grassroots. And what that is, what we really do with them is try to rally them around how we can help support solutions that are brought forth to address some of the issues the parkway is facing. And then when we're looking at grass tops, we're working with local business leaders on how we can bring the private industry in to really help address these issues too. I know one of the main things we're kind of throwing around is how can we bring in private business to help find and locate shelter space so that we can find places for illegal campers and get them off the parkway and off the streets and into places where they can get the resources they need. So with the Voice of the Parkway Coalition, we actually debuted our newest video. Let me just make sure I'm sharing sound here. This is a video that really highlights the devastation the parkway is going through, and sorry. This is a video that really highlights the plight of the parkway, next steps, and what we are trying to do to help with the issue.
Really at a tipping point in terms of the environmental impact on the parkway. It's not only a trash issue, but it's also become a water quality issue. The fires and environmental remediation in some areas might take a generation to restore completely.
After months of talks and still no action, we have created the Voice of the Parkway Coalition. With one voice, together we can create innovative programs for families and individuals, develop a community-wide fire plan to address vegetation removal and restoration through the American River Parkway Fire Safe Council.
This is a social, emotional, and economic issue. It's very complex, and it requires a complex cooperative solution.
With the voice of the 8 million visitors to the parkway, we can force the county and city to create an overall plan to address homelessness with housing and support services. Without your support and voice, the American River Parkway as we know it will be gone forever.
Again, that's just a short clip of a 5-minute video that we have on our homepage, and it's really just to build more support in our coalitions that we can help push for solutions to the some of the issues the parkway is facing. So in the clip, we mentioned the Fire Safe Council. So this is a coalition of 60 organizations that we've pulled together that includes Sacramento County Regional Parks, as well as the 2 fire agencies in the area, all of the utilities that have infrastructure on the parkway. So the 5 to 6 water wells, all 3 power providers. As Liz mentioned, PG&E's lines run right through the parkway, and those lines have a direct connection to all the power in Northern California. So if something happens on the parkway, that can have a detrimental impact across the state. We have Union Pacific and a lot of other nonprofit organizations that are focused on conservation of the parkway. So what this Fire Safe Council is really brought together to do is focus on fire mitigation on the parkway. Obviously, GOATS and the crews that are in the Sacramento County Regional Parks play a big part in that. We're trying to complement that with some other resources, including bringing in Team Rubicon to do some ladder fuel reduction and help widen some trails, and just some other efforts kind of along those lines. We're actually hiring a consultant to develop a wildfire protection plan and this is going to be at the cost of the foundation. And that's really going to take the plan that was developed by Carol Rice, internationally renowned wildfire expert in 2014 and 2015 for the Parkway, and add in some more elements to really make it an all-encompassing plan. So just really quickly, some goals that we would like to see for the future. Just increase the management of our open space. Again, just trying to help out Sacramento County Regional Parks where we can. Completion of the Natural Resources Management Plan. And we're really happy and rooting for you, Liz, because we want that. We're hoping to get that done by the end of the year. Fire plans and develop for the full fire plans for the entire parkway. So again, that goes back to our Fire Safe Council. Removal of as many legal campers as we can. I mean, we're realists. We know that we're not going to be able to get everyone off the parkway. And of course, when we say that, again, we mean getting them into shelters where they can get the services that they need, not just kicking them off, because we don't want to play the whack-a-mole strategy either. Restoration of burned areas, and of course, new uses for land in the lower reaches, especially with the Risha property. I know that's definitely, there's definitely a lot of potential there with the huge water space that they have, and just finding some innovative solutions to bring more people out to that area is something we definitely like to see. And that's the end of my presentation. I wanted to keep it short and sweet because I too just wanted to be a resource and answer any questions that you guys had.
Thanks, Scott. That was an interesting presentation, and it's good to see an advocacy group like yours that has a real investment in the outcome of the Parkway. One of the questions I had is that in the preparation of these plans, like the Fire Safe Council plan, before they're really adopted, I assume they have to be sponsored by a public entity, and they'll go through a secret process like any other project would. Can you highlight that a little bit if you're thinking?
Yeah, so the county actually just hired on I don't know if you can really call her a consultant, but who kind of oversees the whole development of a wildfire protection plan for the full county. So we're working closely with her on what this plan could really look like. And we really want to move it through and get it going and hopefully have something finalized within a year for the full parkway. So we are working closely with her as well as, of course, with the Sacramento County Regional Parks. We have 2 or 3 members, including Liz from the department, on the Fire Safe Council. And they meet with us regularly to discuss what exactly the plan should look like and what it should contain.
So this plan will actually be prepared by either the Department of Parks or another public entity out there.
It's going to have heavy input from all the stakeholders. But again, we're bringing a consultant who really knows, because it's going to involve a lot of detail about fires and how they move and how, like for instance, how wind can impact where a fire goes. Best practices for protecting neighbors along the parkway as well as the parkway itself. So there's going to be a lot of intricacies in there that you really need fire expertise to really develop. So that the plan is going to be, we're bringing that consultant to really help develop that plan. And then from there, we're going to work with the stakeholders on building it out.
So we had a plan that we developed in 2014, 2015. So this is building on the plan that the county parks already put together. And then of course, partnering with the foundation, if we bring it forward where we're going to have it adopted by the board, then it would go through the environmental management and actually have a meeting with folks from the Parkway Foundation to go over some of the recommendations, preliminary recommendations in the next week or so. Really excited about the work and the partnership with the foundation. I think it's a great teamwork. So excited about that.
Well, that brings up a question I have. Will there be a funding element as part of this plan?
So we have somebody on our team who is working full time to find grants and funding so that we can bring in as much of that money as possible and not rely so much on public money, because we want to, I don't want to say avoid the budget process as much as possible. We just know how tedious it is. And if we can fund it by outside money as much as possible, we think we get better and in more cases, quicker results than if we were to try to allocate budget funding every year, if that kind of makes sense. And also it's also kind of a project of the Parkway Foundation. So that's another thing that we don't have to worry about. So we don't have to worry about going to the county and asking for private funding or public funding. Instead, we can bring in our own funding and help support the program.
And that's great for specific, fire protection projects, but that's one-time money. They need a maintenance funding source ongoing. Mm-hmm. So that, hopefully that's part of the plan that you've got, the element in the plan too.
Yeah.
And the Board of Supervisors has actually been very supportive on our fire fuel reduction efforts. They put in additional funding very specific for the grazing element. It's somewhere along the lines of $1.9 million is what they put in for extra just resource management elements of our budget. So that was included into our base budget. It includes a special wildfire fire fuel reduction team on our maintenance staff and some equipment that we needed. And then also what we call an environmental impact team, which is a team of rangers that are specifically trained in looking at environmental crimes. So we actually have been able to make a couple of arrests of arsonists on the Parkway this year, which thrilled about that. It's hard to, that's not an easy thing to catch. So, so the board has put their money out there for us and in support of this very important resource. So I'm really happy about that.
Well, and I would assume that because of the SMUD power lines, that they would have a vested interest in some sort of funding for their portion of the maintenance.
Yeah, we've had different discussions with the different utility managers over the years on and partnered with them on some of the grazing efforts in the past in that particular area. And so, like I said, once we can kind of convert some of those yellow star thistle and other non-native plants underneath the utility lines to something that's a little bit more manageable, native plants, and like I said, pollinators, fingers crossed, I think it'll be really a great benefit on multiple levels.
Okay, any other questions from the commission or any comments?
Yes, hi Scott. You mentioned the Arusha, the old gravel and sand mine that along the river. Now that is still private property, or is that okay? Is there any plans, or maybe Liz knows, to is there possible grants or anything to fund some purchase of that property, or what is?
We're actually working
status?
with the Army Corps of Engineers on that to see if we can make that something that is utilized for some of the mitigation work that's needed from the bank protection. So getting it under public ownership and then restoring the area. So yeah, that's another thing that's in the works. A lot of stuff happening around there right now, I tell you.
Thank you.
I have a quick question for Scott. I think I heard you say that there isn't as much awareness of the region as one might expect. I'm kind of curious, could you highlight some of the programs that are out there that are intended to increase awareness and specifically for maybe lower income communities? I know in my dealings with lower income communities, they don't typically have the opportunities to go out and explore, enjoy the American River Parkway. Is there anything that's happening in that space?
Yes, we are actually working on a couple efforts. Number one, we're doing a lot of outreach to some of the communities that you may not traditionally find on the Parkway. and trying to really find how we can really connect with those communities and raise the awareness of this resource among those communities and that it's out there and available to them. And through that, we're also establishing a program called Parkway Connect, which is, I think, you can kind of call our pilot project. It's going to be with La Familia, and kind of working with them to bring people out to the Parkway to kind of get them acquainted with it and show how easy a resource it is, and to just establish that this is a resource that's available to everyone at no cost. And we're also working with like regional transit to see how we can possibly identify like parkway stops on regional maps. So if there's a way to say, hey, if you want to get to the American River Parkway, here's a great bus stop for you. If you want to get to the American River Parkway, take light rail here. So that's kind of definitely some of the things we are working on and how we're trying to raise that awareness.
Oh, thank you. Those sound like really good programs. I'll have to research them a little bit more.
Thank you.
Hey, Tony, you have anything? Okay. Thank you very much, guys. Scott and Alina, we appreciate your time and on this. And like I said, we will definitely keep our attention on this matter because it's a big interest to all the commissioners.
Thank you.
Moving on to the next agenda item, number 7, is a discussion of the City of Sacramento's preliminary draft climate action plan and consideration of any comments that the commission wants to submit. This came up after our last meeting, and so we forwarded a copy of the plan to everyone to read in between meetings. And so the question I'll pose to everybody: do you have any comments or thoughts on what you had actively read?
I had similar comments with the counties. I would say it didn't address plastic pollution was probably my biggest comment. And then it didn't address really like preservation and conservation of land were the two things that I didn't have time to go through the whole thing like in detail, but I did do Control F for plastic and read through the majority of it.
Yeah, I read through it as well as I could in the short time we had, and I think the plan that the city created is structured it's easy to read because it's broken down by measures, strategies, measures, and finally actions. And they're fairly specific, in many ways, but it's similar to the county's climate action plan, is that there's a gap between identifying an action and how you actually get to the point where you're actually reducing emissions. And sometimes they use the phrase that we want to encourage behavior, we want to coordinate with a party to make this happen, or something along that effect, but there's no real definition of how it would be done and how the reduction measures will be implemented. And I'm not sure if that's something that we just can't avoid at this point in time, given how fast this thing's rolling out, or if this is something we should be expecting of these plans in the future. Now, I guess, John, maybe you can comment on this. You're going to be preparing an emergency response plan. Now, I assume that plan will be where the meat and potatoes come in here and lay out how actually the emission reduction measures will be implemented. Am I correct on that?
For specific to Sacramento County, yes, it could go that way. It's going to depend whether the certain environmental groups that are setting up to sue the climate action plan follow through on that. Because if they do, then we have no climate action plan, and I will have to direct the task force then to really just start onesie twosie trying to decide what we're going to work on first. But ideally, yes, we get a climate action plan in place that has the umbrella of policies that's been thoughtfully put together as a whole. And then that climate emergency response plan can really start to become the implementation arm of the CAP. So yes, we would hope that we have done a great job on revisions and that we will avoid any potential litigation.
So the comment I guess I have is that right now, when I read the city's plan, it misses that last detailed implementation stage. Even though they have a monitoring and performance measurement task, I'm still not seeing how they're going to take it from a strategy document to an implementation document. So that's,
Yeah, I
that's
agree
usually
with that.
my comment.
I read through it this afternoon, actually, now that I'm retired. And I had a couple questions in my mind. Maybe those of you that read it could find the answer. But I noticed that they're talking about, a lot more electrical vehicles and charging stations and all of that kind of thing. But I didn't see where they're going to get, how we're going to get more electricity, because we're already dealing with, rolling blackouts and conservation of electricity, but yet we're going to build a whole bunch more electrical charging stations. Did anybody see that in the plan?
I don't, I think that's SMUD's problem. They need to come up with the answer for
Okay,
meeting
all right.
local demand. Yeah.
All right. And then the other comment I had was with the walking and the biking increase, I didn't see anything in the plan about safety and crime. Because I know from my own personal experience and people I worked with, they didn't want to walk from here to there downtown because of the drug, mentally ill people hanging out and yelling and doing whatever they were doing. And so they would get in their car and just drive a short distance. And I didn't see anything in the plan talking about that, as far as if you want more people to walk and ride bikes, the safety and the crime factor. Did anybody see that addressed?
I saw a brief mention of like lighting, I think.
Yeah, I saw lighting too. Mm-hmm.
But I didn't see anything else.
All right. And then the last thing I was about the trees, increasing the canopy. And then of course we have a water shortage. And so I wasn't quite sure they addressed that either, going from the canopy to 35%, in our current problem with the water. Did anybody see that was addressed?
I don't think so. And I was also wondering actually about the the maintenance of it. I don't remember if
they talked about,
if they would.
Yeah, Stephanie,
I didn't know if they
that
talked about
too.
the species.
Yeah, they talked about trying to get, drought tolerant trees, but the one of the big problems is when you go into the lower income areas that of course have less trees and canopy. How do you ensure that the trees are maintained and taken care of well? And they're talking about partnering with people in the community there, the Tree Foundation, to do that. But I didn't see how we're going to have to water a lot more if we have a lot more green spaces and trees. So anyway, I didn't see that addressed.
One of the things that caught my attention on this was in the breakdown of the emission sources, 57% of all the emissions are associated with transportation.
Yes.
And so that kind of puts, the burden is really, how do you control that? How do you control the vehicle miles traveled? Everything else is minor compared to that. And even though they have a lot of measures, again, I'm not sure if they are really there to substantially reduce the amount of emissions associated with vehicles.
Yeah. So, I thought their transportation section relied a lot on increasing biking and like walking, but I don't think that works as well in, like, I live in Natomas. There's like to walk to like eat out or things like that. So I don't know. I thought that it would have been nice if they relied more on increasing public transportation, which they did address, but it wasn't as balanced with like increasing biking and walking.
I've always wondered if there's an opportunity to make public transportation free within this community, and if that is a mechanism to get ridership up to where it actually has a major contribution to reducing emissions. But I don't know how much that would cost, if that's even feasible.
SACOG, their blueprint project was trying to combine walkable communities with transit hubs where you could live and work and go out to eat in your same community and basically be able to walk or take public transportation. And that it's a great plan, but that they've been working on it now for almost 20 years, and I don't see any of it. And here we are talking about, it again. So, oh, by the way, on your electric vehicles, they're planning on people going home at night and recharging them at night when there's less electrical usage. That's what I've heard.
Eric, did you want to say something?
No, I think just in general, the electric vehicle space, I know that the challenge is going to be with the heavy duty vehicles. I know that with the small passenger vehicles, that's going to be, the technology's more readily available currently than the heavy duty. So along those corridors near the freeway, that's going to be a challenge because it not just presents a greenhouse gas emissions problem, but also a criteria pollutant issue. So I know that that's going to be an area that we'll have to keep an eye on. Yeah. And as far as how the more of the electricity is going to come from, I know SMUD has they have the 2030 clean energy plan or clean energy vision. And they discuss where some of that additional power is supposed to come from. So there's a lot of investment in solar and wind and smaller hydro projects.
Yeah, part of that probably dives into your building and planning, where you actually, when you build houses, you require them to have solar.
Off solar, yeah.
Yeah, and same with your green buildings and stuff.
Yeah, and
same thing.
Community solar is also a big.
Yeah,
that's happening now. So they have a plan in place. We'll see. I think you're right, Laura, though, that similar to the tree problem, the drought's going to present a challenge because I know a lot of it relies on hydro, and we'll see where we are in a few years. If climate change, continues to present more and more droughts, then that's probably going to have a cyclical effect.
Overall, though, I agree with Richard. I thought the plan was very, very well written out and understandable.
I think the city should also be applauded for moving ahead. They've already adopted an ordinance for electrification of new buildings. And I think that's something they can do. And it allows, developers to continue building, but, they obviously are eliminating the natural gas emissions from both residences and commercial buildings. So, I think that's something they recognize in the plan, that it's already been implemented even before the plans have been completed. So the question, I guess, to pose before this commission is, do we want to submit a comment letter to the city where we are going to probably not be able to get it done before the end of this month, which is the deadline for public comment, but we can still submit comments to the city council when they consider this next month, I believe around the 10th. So is this commission interested in submitting comments of some sort?
I think it's a good opportunity. I have a few comments that I could provide if that's something other commissioners are interested in. I think the deadline is July 31st, so I think we just have to consider. I'm sure that they would probably still consider our comments as a commission if we submit after the deadline, but we would probably want to submit before their meeting, which I think was August 13th.
Well, our next meeting is the August 12th, I believe.
Let's see, August 15th. And I think theirs was, or I'll have to double check on the date of what that was. Because if their meeting is before our next meeting, we would probably have to have a special meeting, right?
Correct.
But I recall that our next meeting is before the city council brings this up.
Okay. Let's see. August 16th is their meeting. And ours is the 15th. Oh, so the day before. So that could work. If we want to provide very last minute.
Yeah, Jill can work wonders.
Well, if the commission wants to proceed, let's have a vote here that authorizes us to move forward, and then we can get Stephanie to contribute some language. I'll contribute some language on the concerns that I have. Laura, can you help assist with us a little bit on the concerns of safety and walkability and things like that?
Yes.
Okay.
Who are we sending the comments to?
The city council.
No, but I meant like who's going to put together the letter?
Well, I think we should route it all through Jill, and I'll take the lead on assembling it and making sure everybody gets a
Okay,
draft letter sometime within the next week.
okay,
So that we can get all of our comments compiled and reviewed and have it ready to go by the next meeting.
I think that since the timing is real tight, but the dates are doable, all we would have to do is actually just put it on next month's meeting agenda.
Exactly.
Exactly, yeah.
So is there a motion to move forward with this comment letter to the city of Sacramento?
Laura Nickerson puts forth the motion to do the letter.
Is there a second?
I'll second it.
Okay, Jill, can you do a roll call, please?
Mark White, absent. Richard Hunn,
Yes.
Tom Mulson,
Aye.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Eric Rivera Montez,
Yes.
Stephanie Holstich,
Yes.
Arthur Anthony DeRigi,
Yes.
Kayla Raby.
Yes.
Motion passes.
Okay. So if you guys can, if anybody else wants to contribute some comments on this, feel free to submit. It's not limited just to us, but it's at least we have 3 or 4 authors contributing to this comment letter. And we'll move forward there. Next agenda item is an update from John on the Sacramento County Sustainability Office.
Hello, good evening. I'm John Lundgren, County Sustainability Manager. Let's see, since we last met, I can announce that we've completed the interview process for identifying the 13 members for the Climate Emergency Mobilization Task Force. I presented that to the county executive. She approved the list without edit, and the next step is to take that list to the Board of Supervisors for their ultimate approval. They have the final authority. That is tentatively scheduled. I think this group knows the caveats of we put that in the system and then how it lays out. We'll know 72 hours before when the agenda publishes, but it's tentatively scheduled for August 9th at the Board of Supervisors on consent. So I've written the staff report, and that's the target we have. And so that can get pulled off of consent if there's substantial public comment, or if a supervisor wants to talk about it, maybe take a victory lap. But for the sake of expediency, we thought the best thing was to put it on consent and get the business done and get working on the task force. We conducted an internal review of the 47 applications we received to narrow those down to a smaller group of people that were offered interviews. There was well north of 23 people offered interviews, and I believe when all was said and done and some people dropped out at the last second, we conducted 21 interviews, and that was done with a separate panel independent of the panel that reviewed applications. And the interview panel was, I was present for that, as well as a person from Sac Metro Air District, the Planning Environmental Review Division of the county, and the National Weather Service. And we were unanimous in the 13 names that we advanced to be the members for the task force. And just thank everyone that participated in the process and everyone that also helped get the word out. I will say, what a great way to bring public agencies together and have us sit in a room for 4 days and deal with a heavy issue like that. I feel much more bonded, frankly, to the Air District. My colleagues in planning, we always were, and to the National Weather Service. So that's the big update from Todd Smith, the planning director. If you didn't know, Todd Smith, my former boss, has been promoted to planning director. And so that's great continuity for seeing that the climate action plan gets done. I heard from him just this week that he's targeting early August for the release of the next draft and hopefully last draft of the Sacramento County Climate Action Plan. He's met with, starting to meet with representatives of some of the environmental groups. I know he met with Susan Haree, president of ECOS, and Ralph Proper, former president and current Climate Action Plan Committee leader, and is laying out the changes that we have put into the draft cap, and also very much encouraging those groups to consider that it's important to have that cap approved now so that we can have that broad policy framework, and so that this task force can be that implementation arm as Mr. Hunn had indicated. So happy to answer any questions, and as always, I thank you for the time.
Any questions from the commission? Well, thank you, John. That was a good update, and but it didn't generate any comments or criticism. So appreciate your time on this tonight. Next agenda item is approval of the June 2022 meeting minutes. They were provided to you earlier. Is there any comments or changes to those meeting minutes? If not, then is there a motion to adopt the meeting minutes?
I'll move to approve.
Is there a second?
I'll second.
Okay, moved and seconded. Jill, can you do the roll call?
Mark White, absent. Richard Hunn,
Yes.
Tom Mulson,
Aye.
Laura Nickerson,
Aye.
Eric Rivero Montez.
Aye.
Stephanie Holstage,
Aye.
Dr. Anthony DeRigi,
Yes.
Kayla Raby.
Yes.
Minutes approved.
Okay, good. Thank you, everybody. The next item is the E&D Director's Report. Gia, when you're ready to go.
I'm ready. Good afternoon, evening. So we have a couple things I just wanted to highlight. The California State Fair is up and running. EMD was on hand starting on Friday for food inspection. So that occurred all day Friday, and then we'll be back pretty much every day, just keeping an eye on the, the booths and any issues that come up, making sure that it's safe to eat and there aren't any food safety issues. So staff has been super hard at work coordinating that and then doing all that hard work. It was probably 103 or 104 that day. So kudos to them being out there and making sure that the fair's safe for everybody. Second thing I wanted to bring up was that EMD attended a board meeting on Wednesday of last week to present a ARPA project for phase 2 allocation. And this is for another year of the retail food fee waiver. So this is a total of $6.8 million. And this would fund all of the retail food businesses except for a small portion of providing them a waiver for the 2023 permit year. So we're real excited about that we're able to provide businesses that economic relief and that they'll have another year where they can use those funds for something else for their business. So that'll start in January 2023. We currently have a fee waiver project going on right now for 2022. So this will give the businesses an additional year of that economic relief. So with that, that's pretty much all I have today.
The one question I have, did your staff identify any good fried food at the state fair that they would recommend?
Any fried food is good food. Though I have to say, some of the new concoctions that are coming up, deep fried butter, I think was one of them. I said, well, that's just too far. I mean, Oreos, you got me there. I could try that, but butter, I don't know. But yeah, there's always an interesting concoction. It was interesting before the staff set out. They had a lengthy discussion on the best way to batter a corn dog and the temperatures that the batter needs to be to properly fry on the corn dog. So they're well versed in fair food. It was very interesting.
Thank you very much for your report.
Thank you.
The next item is to discuss any of the environmental issues and topics before the agencies that come up that we're all monitoring. One of the first ones I wanted to talk about, or at least acknowledge, is in May, we submitted a letter to the Board of Supervisors, as well as the other members of our sponsors and other municipalities in the county regarding the climate change initiative. And it was reported back that that initiative has pretty much died in this process. I was wondering, Stephanie, can you give us an idea of what happened and the changes that occurred with this new bill that's replacing that?
Yeah, so I think that on the last day for them to withdraw the bill on plastic pollution reduction, they came to a compromise and it passed through the Assembly and the Senate and was signed by the governor within like one day or something like that. So from what I've read, the new law is not as stringent as the initiative was that we signed a letter of support for. It has a longer time frame. The original initiative required that single-use plastic be reusable, recyclable, compostable, or refillable. This one requires like a 30% recycling rate by 2028 and then like 65% by 2032. So it's not as strict with the numbers. It also does not ban styrofoam or polystyrene, but polystyrene just needs to follow the same recycling rates as the other plastic types. So I don't know, it might functionally ban it because it's probably hard to have styrofoam that's 65% recyclable. And then the original bill, I think, didn't allow chemical recycling to count in the recycling numbers. And I think this allows that. I think the major difference is this, the law that was passed is more focused on the producers. So it gives less authority, I think, to CalRecycle than the initiative did. So this one establishes like producer responsibility organizations, and producer responsibility organizations have to come up with like a plan for plastic pollution, and then they have to be one of those organizations to sell plastic within the state, it sounds like. And then I think they have to pay like a $500,000 annual surcharge to a mitigation tax fund, as well as an administrative fee to CalRecycle for plastic waste initiatives. So I think it's still the biggest like extended producer responsibility initiatives in the country. So it's still good in that way.
Okay, thank you. That's a good summary of the differences.
Mm-hmm.
So anyway, I want to thank the commission for putting together that letter of comment. I think it was valuable, even if the matter died before we had any real opportunity to see it go forward. I recently saw with the city council on June 28th, they had an update on the leaf blower ordinance that went into effect last year when they put a ban on leaf blowers when air quality index exceeds 100. And it was reported by staff that after the initiation of the ordinance, they had over 450 complaints regarding leaf blowers, of which only 4 were related to air quality. The rest of the leaf blower complaints were obviously dealing with noise and things like that. The city staff believes that the limited number of complaints regarding air quality was because there were only 11 days last year which exceeded 100, an air quality index of 100. So they just said that the circumstances regarding poor air quality just didn't take place. That was the extent of the update. There was no other discussion of modifying the ordinance or anything like that. So there was just basically an updated report.
Richard,
yes.
Question on that. So I wonder, is the city actually doing anything to notify landscaping companies about this ordinance? I wonder if they've done some outreach.
They've done outreach, and they also sent out over 500 notices, I guess, in regards to people who receive complaints and or associated with the complaint itself. So they did do a follow-up action. And I believe that the ordinance calls for a website which leaf blower companies and actually anybody should check the air quality of the day that you're going to use a leaf blower to see if it actually applies and limits your use of the leaf blowers. I don't know how effective that really is, but at least they have it in place and it's available for people to use. And I believe,
yeah,
and it's also in Spanish, I think.
Seems like a difficult ordinance in that the air quality could be, 80 at 8 in the morning, and then at 1 o'clock in the afternoon it could be, 150. But I don't know. Yeah, I'm not sure if they have a certain time of day or whatever. Yeah,
I agree. It's hard to enforce.
Yeah.
It's hard to monitor. So yeah, I'm not sure, but at least they know that they're still getting a lot of complaints over noise. So we'll see what happens there. One other thing I was going to bring up is a couple of months ago, Kayla brought up a topic regarding the use of leaded fuels at Sacramento Executive Airport. And we looked into it a little bit. I was wondering if, Kayla, you can give us a kind of a synopsis of what we found out so far.
Yeah, of course. Rich and I looked into it a little bit, and Richard found some wonderful like research and reports in the area around the Sacramento Executive Airport regarding like high levels of lead in the soil around the neighborhood. And there was like a little bit of a conflict on whether that lead was coming from the nearby gun range or the Sacramento Executive Airport, considering that their planes still use 100, I think, double L leaded fuel. And I think it was determined that although like the results were a little bit difficult to like pinpoint, that the Sacramento Executive Airport was probably a high source of that lead because of the emissions that fuel gives off. I mean, like airborne lead emissions, like 50% of those come from airplane fuel that still uses 100 double L lead. So that's kind of what we found. And so some good news on that part is that the FAA recently, I think, released a plan to phase out leaded aviation fuels by 2030. So this will also apply to the Sacramento airport, and hopefully it won't be a problem anymore. And levels, I guess, will go down in that area, and we can, I guess, check up on it in a couple of years or decades maybe to see.
Yeah, very good. Thank you, Kayla. Are there any questions about anything that we just mentioned and talked about? Does anybody else have anything they want to report from what they've been reviewing?
This is Laura. I would just like to see what you guys think about. I mean, listening to our speakers tonight, with 99% of the fires being human caused, seems like the keystone issue would be to have an ordinance that gives them teeth to keep illegal encampments out of that pristine, beautiful environment. And I don't know if you guys as a commission want to support that ordinance before the August 10th meeting, the August 10th county board meeting.
I would probably want to look at the ordinance and see what the content is, because I have concerns about the homeless people that they're moving, and if they're just gonna, go to other areas or those types of things.
That's exactly what they'll do is they'll go someplace else and start fires. I mean, they're not just going to disappear. It's not going to go away.
Yeah.
Where do you want to push them?
And I think there's often nowhere for them to go.
Yeah, it's not an easy problem to solve. It really isn't. Because the other thing, and again, the courts have decided this, as an adult, you can make your own decisions. So you don't have to take, and nobody can force you into some of these, homeless solutions that they have. They can say no, and a percentage of them do. So what do you do? I mean, it's not an easy problem to solve. But I agree. I mean, you got to try something.
I think Stephanie was right. We need to see the language of the ordinance, because the impression I got, it was a expansion of their ranger's authority to move them out of a space. And it's not really an environmental topic. It's more of a policing matter. So if we can get our hands on the draft ordinance, and then maybe we can consider submitting something if it relates to environmental matters.
Well, I can look it up and send it out to Jill to distribute, but I think that with the fire into the environment and all the destruction that's occurring, I think it is an environmental matter. But
well, let's take a look at the ordinance and then we can figure it out there.
All right, I'll try to hunt it up and send it out to Jill.
Okay, good.
Thank you.
Any other comments from the commission?
This is a general question. Why is Rancho Cordova not represented on the commission? I thought of it today because of this property in the Parkway. It's actually going to be decided by the city of Rancho Cordova whether there'll be development into the Parkway. Anyway, does anybody know the history of that?
Same reason Citrus Heights has never been a member. They don't want to be.
Tony, over the years, I've been doing this for 10 and a half years, and we have invited the city of Rancho and Citrus Heights at least once during my time as secretary. I believe it was no response. So, you could talk about inviting them again, and we could send those letters.
We talked about it, and I asked Jill to come up with a cost estimate of what it would take for them to participate on the commission. And it seemed to be less than $1,000 a year that they could to sponsor a seat on the commission. So I think we should approach them and ask them again, if maybe it's been 2 years or 3 years. So
I agree. I mean, we ought to, every January invite them every year and see what happens. Just, standard courtesy, actually. And I agree with you, Richard. We just ought to invite them.
Well, when Mark returns, we'll bring it up and see if we can craft something that will solicit their interest.
Thank you. Oh, one other quick comment. I happened to notice that Sac State has a Department of Sustainability, I think it's called, and they actually have their own climate action plan for the Sac State campus. Jill, if we're looking for possible topics, if we have a meeting that needs a topic, that might be interesting to get a presentation from their sustainability director about their climate action plan.
Thank you. Noted.
That's a good question, because my question then would be, would that just be for one state campus, or would all the state campuses also have a climate action plan?
Good question.
Good question. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a quick question. I know in May we agreed to forward the no cost MOU for building electrification to the other participating cities. Have we heard anything back? Is there any update? Do we need to do any follow-up?
I didn't receive any response, but John, I believe in the letter it said that you were the contact for that.
Yes. So between SMUD, the city, and I agreed to be the quote administrative point of contact. And so I followed up right on the heels of Jill sending the letter. I reached out to the same list of city managers and said, "Hi, I'm John, and any questions or comments, please come my way. I'm happy to help." I heard from the city of Rancho Cordova, from a planner there. We had a very great discussion, and that was the end of any contact. So there hasn't been any more nibbles, and that is very interesting to listen to the conversation you just had, because it wasn't lost on me either that, well, I want to make sure I don't want to talk about agenda items off agenda. Oftentimes we forget about the other incorporated cities. Rancho Cordova, as was noted already, is right on the American River Parkway, but was not part of the demand letter sent, for example, from the American River Parkway Foundation. It only went to the two big elephants in the room. And so sometimes we're sensitive about that too. So, but I stand by ready to talk to any of the city managers or city staff. And related to that, we just had our monthly SMUD City of Sacramento County meeting today that's called for in that MOU that we will regularly meet and coordinate.
Thanks for the update.
Any other comments or thoughts?
Well,
I have a quick update. Oh,
go ahead. No, go ahead.
Mine's just quick. I was just going to say that the website committee had our first meeting, and we're going to have a second follow-up meeting in the middle of August before our next commission meeting. So,
Yeah, thanks for coordinating that, Stephanie.
No problem.
How about you, Tom?
Yeah, I just wanted to comment that the Cosumnes Groundwater Authority is going to be having a Zoom workshop on July 27th. You can look it up on their webpage under workshops. I think it's 2 p.m. and you sign up for it. Anyhow, the workshop's going to be on their groundwater recharge plans. They have 6 or 7 of them. And the one they'll be discussing is the land repurposing project that they have. Again, this is to try to, recharge the groundwater that's decreasing a foot a year. We're negative 10,000 acre feet a year. So hopefully they're hoping to cut that out. And if anything, perhaps start recharging the groundwater. So this will be one of the first meetings I'll have on it, on one of their projects.
Good.
Anybody's interested.
Keep us informed. Okay, with that, our next meeting is August 15th at 6 p.m. If there's no other comments, I will consider this meeting adjourned. Thank you very much.
Good night, everybody.
Bye, everyone.
Thank
Have
you.
a good
Good night.
evening.
Good night, everyone.